Coming to paperback and e-readers, John Haynes, Illuminati. The man who rules the world takes on the head of the global elite in this action-packed, all-new John Haynes series adventure. Pre-order your copy of John Haynes, Illuminati on Amazon.com and online booksellers everywhere. Before I get into this review of Velvet Comics Melvin #2, I want to give everybody an update on the SJS Direct 2024 catalog. Now, all 3 books of the SJS Direct 2024 catalog have been uploaded to KDP, and the first of those SJS Direct 2024 books will be up for pre-order this week. And this week, you'll be able to pre-order the Kindle and digital versions of John Haynes' Illuminati, which will be available in Kindle and paperback on March 22nd. So the first of the SJS Direct 2024 books is getting ready for release. I just have to do a couple of final edits here and there, but the book will be ready for sale on March 22nd, 2024. Now, the other 2 books of the SJS Direct 2024 catalog, Isis, Dark Incubus, and Esteem Horror in the Hamptons, I am still editing them, and it's related to the 3rd draft, and I'm waiting for Bill Walko to get back to me with the inked cover for Isis, Dark Incubus, and the sketch for Esteem Horror in the Hamptons. So those books are well on their way to near the final stages of production, and I'm still getting the work done on the next SJS Direct comic script, which may possibly be Isis All That Glitters or Isis the Beauty Myth. I'm still working out the logistics and still trying to raise the funds for the budget. And if you want to help me get the next SJS Direct comic out, you can send a donation to the Cash App or the PayPal, and it'll be greatly appreciated because it'll help me get that much further to getting the next SJS Direct comic out after the success of John Haynes at Death's Door. And you can get your copy of John Haynes at Death's Door on Lulu.com right now in paperback for the same price as the 2022 Kickstarter. Now, with that all said about the SJS Direct 2024 catalog, I want to get into this comic from my friends at Velvet Comics, and this 2nd issue of Melvin proved to be absolutely fantastic. It really took me back to the days of the late 1980s where we had the black and white comic craze, and back then in the 80s we had a lot of small independent books from independent creators who put their heart and soul on the page, and that's what I saw here with Melvin's 2nd issue, which does a great job of picking up on the story of the 1st issue, where the Yellow Man is looking to get the princess and bring her back to her kingdom. So this is a story that has a lot of great action and adventure and really good, solid writing, and does a good job of telling its story, and the cover does a good job of opening up like those old indie books with a great image that really shows you the hero in action and the sexy princess behind the villain of the story, and that it does a great job of giving a picture that gets you interested in the story. So this cover does a great job of opening up the book. And as it opens up the book, we are shown that this is chapter 2 of Timothy Olson's Melvin Saga. Now, this is the 2nd chapter of the saga, but I wish that they had another page to open it up on the right instead of the left, because opening up a book on the right is a bit of a problem because it makes it hard for most Western readers to see. Now, in manga, you could do it that way, but this makes it a bit difficult to be able to see the action. Now, this story takes place after Melvin has gone and found the princess, and after he's found the princess, he's trying to bring her back, and and she wants to go out here and deal with the issues in this city of Chrysia, but Melvin wants to bring her back to the kingdom. Now, after he brings her to his plane, he looks to fly her back. Unfortunately, what happens is we get a bit of a problem as related to transitioning here with the book, and they tell us instead of showing us, and what I would have liked to have seen that would have made this introduction better, and just like opening up on the right, is also giving us a nice page that would have let us see this plane malfunctioning and crashing, because this is a bit of a jarring transition when you're trying to read the story. Now, he's, as related to things, is dealing with this plane crash and saying that he can't believe it's happening and it wasn't his fault, as related to the cultist who he believes sabotaged his jet, but he's still looking to go and do his job. But she wants to go to Chrysia, and she wants to go to Chrysia to deal with this situation, and this is a desert of death, and as they're in the desert of death, they run into an individual who just catches them off guard, and he's Darren of Chrysia, and he takes them out of the desert and shows them the horrors that the people of this cult have participated in. And as the people of this cult of Azarka, they have gone out here and murdered people in the town, and this guy wants to do something, but he doesn't really have the power to. But Melvin, being a hero, has the power to do something, and he has the power to fight back. And we get some good sequencing and pacing here as related to him, as related to getting this weapon that the guy has invented. And this weapon really opens the sequence to a great splash of Melvin holding this super weapon, which reminds me a lot of the George Perez story, Future Imperfect. I mean, this whole sequence really reminds me a lot of that story by Peter David and George Perez in Future Imperfect, where there's a guy who has this weapon invented by Forge to take on the Maestro, and he's given this weapon to go take out the Maestro, but it doesn't work. But I really like this whole sequence because it really is, again, really just well put together, good pacing, good setup, and leads to them looking to go and deal with the situation in Chrysia. And as they look to deal with the situation in Chrysia, this is where the princess gets ready to go into action. And this is another thing I liked about this whole comic, is we get some balance to the action, and we get balance to the action in that we don't just see Melvin in action, we see the princess in action, and we get to see both of them taking on the bad guys, and everything builds to the climax of this second issue, where Melvin is taking on this big armored foe as he's got the big gun. And I'm not going to give away any much more of this book because Timothy Olsen worked hard on this book, and I don't want to give away all of his book because I want you to be able to go out here and pick up Melvin's second issue, because it's a really solid second issue, because it builds on the story of the first issue and allows you to continue on with the saga. And this saga basically ends on a good note that builds into the third issue that is coming up. And I have to say that the guys at Velvet have done a solid job on this book so far for being first-time creators. I mean, yeah, there are some issues as related to the whole beginning sequence. I think they could have done better. I mean, yeah, you got a nice splash page to open up chapter 2 and a nice chapter card, but the whole thing is you needed that page where we needed this plane, where we go from the plane being in the air to crashing, to give us that transition. And that could have been done in like a half panel or a good page, where you're doing like 2-3 panels, but it would have really made the story a little bit easier to read. And that's my only nitpick for this book. But overall, the action is very solid. The art is very strong as related to being an opening book for a first-time creator. I mean, this is pretty solid for a start for a comic for the Velvet Comics group, and they've got a promising future in comics so far from what I've seen, because I see their heart and passion on the page, and I see good sequencing, good pacing as related to storytelling outside of that one minor page I mean, overall, the book is very strong, and it's one that I would recommend that you go out here and give a chance to. I mean, this is a book that I believe its storyline is going to get a lot better. Now, I like this Hero Team 6 concept. This looks very interesting. It says terrorists, Egyptian gods, and werewolves. Very interesting concept overall, but this company is looking like it's got a nice, promising comic. I mean, I've seen stills from the 3rd issue, which reminded me a lot of He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. And this issue basically reminded me a little bit of, again, Future Imperfect and He-Man, because Melvin is kind of like a He-Man to me as related to his abilities and his quest. So, very interesting comic, very good start and good first 2 issues, and I'm hoping to see more from Velvet Comics, because this overall issue, again, was very solid for a good start, and I'm eager to see more from the guys over at Velvet Comics. Now, if you want to pick up my first full comic, John Haynes at Death's Door, you can find that comic again on Lulu.com in paperback and get your own copy for the same price it was on the 2022 Kickstarter. And if you want to pick up some of the action-packed fantasy fiction on the SJS Direct imprint, like the ISIS series, the Scheme series, the John Haynes series, the books of the Spinsterella trilogy, or my vampire novel Eternal Night, or my black sorority novel The Thetas, or Recipe for Success, you can find all those books in paperback and Kindle format on Amazon.com and other online booksellers. And if you'd like to see me do more comic review videos of great comics like Melvin from Velvet Comics, you can send a donation to the Patreon, the PayPal, or the Cash App, so that I can have the funds to continue supporting great independent comic creators like Velvet Comics. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Now available on Lulu, John Haynes at Death's Door. The man who rules the world takes on the Greek god of death in this action-packed, all-new John Haynes comic book. Get your copy of the first John Haynes comic at Lulu.com today. Now available in paperback and e-readers. E-Steam Council Vacation. Hell's aspiring angel takes on a social justice, social media mob looking to cancel her in this all-new E-Steam series adventure. Get E-Steam Council Vacation in paperback and e-readers today.